Another one of the main elements that we learned about was exactly what does an effective learning environment look like, because an effective learning environment is a very essential part, obviously, of an effective classroom. The learning environment is where, the class is actually taking place at. So the first point I noticed is the obvious: the physical aspects of the classroom. You could be surprised at how the physical looking arrangement and just where people sit will affect the learning process. And I know some people don't really have control on the physical environment of their classroom. So this isn't the main part of the learning environment, but it is a player in the whole makeup of the learning environment. So you have the furniture arrangement and layout, seating, and often specified areas for specific tasks. Now, some people will arrange the desks all in rows. Some people will arrange them in like a horseshoe. Some people will arrange them in groups. It just kind of depends on the age level. And some teachers, one teacher I know in particular that I did a project with last semester, she actually moved the desks around depending on what activity they were doing, such as if they were doing group work or if they were working individually on something or with a partner. And she even had to separate everybody at one point because they weren't following the rules or respecting that. So she had to actually make it so they were not sitting in groups. And I think that was persuasive enough to make them change their minds about their behavior, because the next time I went, they were in groups again. So the social factor there was pretty powerful. Another teacher that I've worked with, she used the arrangement of her classroom to make an effective learning environment. Not so much with the desks, though, because the desks were in rows, but they were spaced wide enough apart that she could walk around them and, get to any student in the room. But it was kind of more the mentality of what happened in what area of the room. Such as, when you were at your desk, you were doing, your worksheets, your projects, you're practicing what's written up on the board or what's being projected on the board on your papers and notebooks. And when you went over to the table that was shaped kind of like a horseshoe, you went to go work with the teacher on your reading or other things you needed extra help with. And she would alternate who got to be in there according to the day. So while she was especially helping that particular group with the particular subject they were working on, the other kids would be working on their assignment for the day or for that morning that was up on the board. And it was usually reinforcing a type of a grammar skill or a math skill, usually a grammar skill though when I came in. And then when they completed those, they would turn them in a basket, and instead of going to ask the teacher what they should do next, they already knew what they were going to do next. Because after that, they had their centers. After they got done with their regular work, and their centers were different areas of the room that were assigned for different activities, and the different children that were in the class would take turns having their time or their day in that center. So there would be a group of 4 or 5 children over on one side of the room working on, their reinforcing crafts. And another group would be working on a game that they would play together that would reinforce some kind of grammar skill, such as finding the word with the ing or finding rhyming words, or different reading and educational games that were board games. I'm surprised she had so many games. I think some of them she found and some of them I think she made. And then there was another section where there would be a few kids that would practice their writing and spelling, and they would have little dry erase boards, and they would be able to write on those. And there would be another section where they would put their spelling words and their reading words, their sight words, up on the board with I'm not sure if they were magnets or if they were foam letters, but they would put them up on the board and spell different words that they had on their word list. And just different activities, they would be spread out in different sections of the room. So each group, it would vary by day. It wouldn't even be the same children in the same group. That way everybody would know what they were supposed to do if they were assigned to the different areas. And she would get the time to be able to work with the kids that needed more help with a particular subject, which I thought was very effective. And a lot of times while she was doing that and they were doing their work, I was actually doing my observation, but sometimes she would have me help with some of their reading pre-tests type things, where I would see how many words off of a list that they could read. And a lot of the kids knew every single one of them because their parents were working with them on the words, because I guess the list had got sent home with them too. But they would come over to the area where I was at to do that. So that was the physical aspect of the arrangement. I think that worked out pretty well because they knew what was coming when they were going to that area. The organization in the classroom, time. This is something I have a hard time with myself. But in classrooms that I have seen and read about and been in, time organization is essential to having an effective learning environment. Even if the teacher is doing all the right things, if he or she is not able to organize his or her time, they won't be able to do everything they want to do. The students won't be able to get everything done. The teacher won't be able to teach everything. So time getting organized and assigned is really important. Daily schedules, kind of routine. So, like some teachers, they would have it divided up. So it would be by day of the week. So say it's Monday at 9 o'clock. Okay, well, we're going to be working on this until about 10 or 10:30. And then we're going to go and do this next thing. And so according to the time and day, they would work on different subjects. Or some teachers would have pretty much the same schedule every day. We'll work on this, and then we'll work on this, and we'll work on this. But it seemed to be more effective to kind of alternate days, if possible, for different subjects. I know there's a lot of reading and math, reiteration, but really effective teachers seem to be able to integrate that into other subjects like social studies and history and science and other things. And I think kids appreciate the variety. But another thing is tasks. To be able to organize how you want to assign your assignments. Such as, I expect you to be done with this by such and such a time, or to get to a good stopping place. And have those written up on the board. So they know, this is what we need to get done today during this time period. And expectations for the students is also under that. And the content and curriculum organization, that is helpful in providing a direction with where you're going, because if you don't have a direction, what's the point of what you're teaching, really? So a lot of teachers will have units that they build their lessons into. such as I've mentioned earlier, there was a teacher that she did a unit on apples, she did a unit on spiders. I think they did one also on firemen. But all the lessons were building into that unit, so they were, unifying the content together and making it relevant. The individual lessons, something that I need to practice more, that I know that is practiced in effective classrooms, effective learning environments, is lessons on a daily basis that kind of tie into the day before and into the day following, and the assignments organized so the students can understand them and so the teacher can understand what that he or she had in mind when they were writing the assignment, but organized in a way so that the students and the teacher can keep on track and not get confused. One teacher I saw color-coded their assignments for the students so that for different subjects were in different colors. Another thing you could do would be different expectations in different colors. If it's a test, they had it in red. If it was a daily assignment, they had it in another color, and so forth. But the biggest part of an effective learning environment, more so than the physical arrangement or the organization, although both of those are important, are the positive social and emotional atmosphere. And some of this will be in the video of Megan Shelton, who is a teacher in the Volcanes school in Mexico. It's not like the actual school. It's the it's a school that supplements their public school education by helping to teach them English and computer skills. And Fort Hays actually has a hand in that. But she not only employs effective teaching methods, but her teaching her learning environment that she creates for her students, even though they don't have a lot in there, she makes it as positive and just secure and everything for them, so they want to learn. And I thought that video was just amazing, so that's why I put it on there. So the first aspect of the positive atmosphere is security. Safety and acceptance, not having to fear harm or ridicule or ill feelings and actions from someone else. A big barrier a lot of times for students that have trouble in school is not so much that they lack the capability of applying themselves, it's just they don't feel secure, they don't feel like, they're safe there. And that is a big barrier to learning, because if you're not comfortable somewhere, why are you going to take the time to learn? Or why are you going to take the time to let somebody else in if you don't feel safe with that person? I mean, I know if I was feeling scared or if I was feeling, just uncomfortable with the situation, I would be so distracted. And I'm sure that's how a lot of other students feel when they're uncomfortable like that. And it may not be physical harm. It may be social embarrassment, maybe some fears of that, or perhaps some fears that they won't be accepted, some fears that perhaps, I don't really want to apply myself or answer the questions because I might be wrong, and, just kind of shut down for that. I've been wrong in the past, I don't want to be wrong again, type of a thing, which shouldn't take place in an effective learning environment. And that's something that the teachers and students together can work on to create a sense of security and safety and acceptance, so the students don't have to worry about that and they can get on with learning. So that the feelings needed for security will be fulfilled and they won't be distracting or taking away from the learning time. emphasis on cooperation and working together with other students rather than competition between students. Generally, in an effective learning environment, the only competition, so to speak, that should be taking place should be between a student and his or herself, such as trying to do better than his or her past work, rather than comparing one student to another, because even if they're all students that get really high marks all the time, they're not going to be learning the same or having the same responses. So it doesn't really make sense to be making them compete against one another. It's more effective and motivative, I believe, to let them compete against themselves to see their own self-improvement. But the cooperation element, it helps to create more positive feelings than negative, as it could be in students competing against each other. Even in teams competing against each other, it emphasizes the competition more than the actual content that they're trying to learn. Not that competition is necessarily a bad thing, it just depends on how it's used. But if more emphasis is placed on cooperation of students and working together with the teacher, with the other students on what they are working on, such as group projects, or just, working on question and answers together, working on researching things together and having different jobs assigned, so that they all play a part in determining what kind of a grade or what kind of a feedback that they get. If everybody plays a part together, then they'll all try to do better. I think the cooperation in general helps to create a more positive environment, because everybody wants everybody to do well. And that may be in a more ideal classroom than everyday classrooms, but I don't think that it's an impossibility. I think that from what I have seen and read about of effective classrooms, there's usually at least some element of cooperation, if not a huge element of cooperation. I also think that, the students that are in a positive atmosphere would have the freedom to make mistakes and to be able to turn them into positive learning experiences. Just because you may mess up on your class assignments or school work, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the world. You can mess up, such as you could forget to turn a paper in, or you could do a really poor job. And the teacher, instead of, just using that as a place of discouragement, could actually turn that into a positive learning experience. Could work with the student to come up with better ways to address their problems, such as better study habits, maybe teaming them up with someone else, or helping them to see in their work what they could improve on, and maybe having them try to do some remedial work instead of, just making, okay, that's the end of your grade. Maybe you could try to implement some sort of extra credit things so they could learn, well, why did I get it wrong? Why is this the wrong answer? Why did I get a poor grade on this paper? And if they had a chance to work through to make it a better product or a better paper, they might learn more about what you actually wanted them to learn about to begin with. And another area that mistakes could be made, such as in behavior, disagreements with the teacher or with other students, or just accidents, they could be used as learning opportunities, such as somebody had a mishap that made a big mess. Well, that mess affected other people, so that person learned that my mess isn't necessarily only my problem, so I need to clean it up to not only help myself but to help these other people. Positive teacher and student relationships. A big part of this is on the teacher, but some of it's on the student as well. The teachers and students would be seeking to understand each other, not be afraid to disagree, but be able to disagree in a respectful way, not a disrespectful way. To have the teacher be able to see more viewpoints and understand where the student is coming from, for the student to be able to see where the teacher is coming from, and everybody to just be clear with each other. Also, some of the elements about effective teachers play into there, such as the teacher having compassion and being understanding and having a positive attitude to affect their students. A big part of positive teacher-student relationships that would play into the classroom would be the teacher being able to see their students as more than just a student, as a person, as more than just a grade or a learner, but as an individual beyond the classroom, such as a person that has interests, a person that has skills that may not be on a test, and just learning about their students and how they're unique and what might pique their interest, such as if a student is struggling in an academic subject but they're just wonderful at different kinds of sports. You might try to incorporate that into the curriculum, or students that they really like games. There's a way to go. You could relate to them on that, or they have pets of some sort at home and they like animals. Why not have a classroom pet? Have everybody work together on that. There's just a few instances of that might be able to work into positive relationships.